Good morning, and today is D-Day. The D-Day landings of the 6th of June 1944 was the largest seaborne invasion in history. It marked the beginning of the liberation of France and Western Europe. My name is Annabelle and I am passionate about World War II, in fact any of the world wars, but World War II more specifically because my dad was at D-Day in 1944. He was a nurse, a sick bay attendant on a huge ship called the HMS Black Prince. Now here's one funny little thing about my dad is he couldn't swim. He was in the Navy, couldn't swim at all. But that wasn't unusual then. A lot of people hadn't learned to swim, were not taught to swim. And you learned to swim very quickly if you ended up in the sea, I'm sure. My dad was a very jovial chap and spoke to anybody, made friends with absolutely anybody. I think I've got that from him. Now, I would have been having afternoon tea with you, but I got offered a glass of bubbly. Cheers, and cheers to my dad. For a young man joining up in the Navy, he must have been very nervous. I wouldn't say excited at all, knowing the prospects of what they've got to do or had to do. But he got to travel to places my dad would never have gone to. And he saw sides of life that he probably would never have wanted to see. He was in China, a lot of time spent in South China Seas. He ended up in Australia, and they had about 6 months there because their ship had been attacked and there was a lot of repairs needed, and he absolutely loved the areas around Sydney and the Blue Mountains, and he loved a place called Ku-ring-gai National Park, and he actually named one of his houses after that, either Ku-ring-gai, I'm not 100% sure. Let me know if you know of it. He also ended up in Malta, which is why I'm very passionate about Malta, because it was only one of the trips after my mum died that me and my dad went on together. Now, I managed to get hold of his Navy records and tell you it's very easy to do. I got a whole list of when he signed up to when he left, and that is fascinating history. Very rarely spoke about his time in the Navy, and then only little snippets. But something he did do every single year since he left, and almost about a month before he died, they got together with old shipmates and obviously talked over those times that brought them all together. And the last time I ever spoke to one of his friends called Norman, who came to the funeral, he'd been on the ship with my dad all the way through. So he could tell me things about my dad that I didn't even know, and that is priceless. So my dad was a photographer. He was a very respected photographer. His role actually took a turn in the Navy because he was so good at photography. And he absolutely loved it. Taking pictures was his passion. And hey, you never know. Tumble down years on, here I am doing YouTube and taking pictures and videos of me. I was probably at an age that I unfortunately wasn't interested, but there was a very brief time that my dad was on his own and we talked about it only one afternoon, and he shared his medals and the places he'd been, and that again was priceless. But when he was 55, he learned to swim. He learned to swim a breath at his local swimming pool. And he was in the local paper all about him, all about his time in the Navy. And he was absolutely amazed that somebody had gone to the trouble to take his picture and listen to his story. My dad was very positive, very social. He was a half-full sort of chap who had two philosophies he lived by. One was, you can give away a smile every day for free. It doesn't cost you to smile, it doesn't cost you to smile, it doesn't cost to give one away. And to say hello and to smile at somebody who might not have chatted to anybody that day is something he did every time he went out. And the other thing is, which I'm going to actually turn into a series, is something called the worst case scenario. And I learnt this from my dad. So the worst case scenario is you when you're making decisions. So here's an example. A couple of years ago, I moved from the Netherlands back to the UK for a particular reason. Now, in my head, I had gone through a list of pros and cons and also the worst case scenario. The worst case scenario, what I was moving back for from the Netherlands to the UK didn't pan out. That was it. That's the worst case. And then I could do something different. So if you can live with the worst case scenario, then your decision's made. Today is all about D-Day, all the men and women who fought for our country here in the UK and also in Europe. So all I want to do is say cheers, thank you to everybody. D-Day. Bye for now.